Whispers drift as the ocean sighs, a place for hearts to rest, no disguise. Night, night with thee, just you and me. Life untangled, love set free. Close your eyes, feel the breeze.
Welcome to another Night with Phee right here on the Phee Smee Network. I do appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. Topics tonight include bad takes in psychology. They're not very bright. What privacy and be not afraid. Right here, right now on Night with Phee. Thank you guys. Hit that follow button. Give us a little shout out for love in all the right places. It's all about war, folks. It's all about war. You look at all the newsreels all in the Middle East, and they tell a whole different story. It's propagandas everywhere. And you just wouldn't believe the news that those poor folks over there and the folks over here and the conflicting of the news, and people are just enamored by the fire and those flickery lights in the sky. And so that's where you are there. We're going to try to, everybody else in the world's talking about that. We already know where we are in that situation. And I think you're going to find out that we'll speak more about it. But you're going to find that people that are willing to die for their religious beliefs, people that are that sold on what they believe, that they would do anything and have been raised in that environment all their lives. And then they've raised their kids in that environment. And they're everywhere in every country. You can't look at an American and say, oh, yeah, he's from Kentucky. Or, oh, yeah, that guy's from Louisiana. You might be able to guess. You might be able to guess even if you hear their accent. Most of the time when people hear me talk, they think I'm either from Alabama or Georgia. And in Memphis, everybody thought that's just the way everybody talked. I'll just tell them it's half Elvis, half Lisp. With my lingo and pronouncing words the correct way. But you're just going to see a whole different narratives from every channel. I can tell you that MS Now was very important to them about the Democratic primary of the in the state of Texas. For some reason, that's very important to them. And CNN is playing about half and half with the war pictures, and then of course back to the primaries of the Democrat and Republican parties. While in the meantime, your conservative Republican Fox is continuing to have folks every day hammering as the United States continues just to decimate Iran. And so it should be over pretty quick the way they're talking. The way they talk in the Middle East over there is what's happened is that you've lost a whole lot of soldiers in this war. And that's those sources are about as shaky as some of these sources over here. So that's allegedly here, but we'll see if that pans out. But normally you're about 2 or 3 days later here about the news over there than I am, because I'm reading over there a lot of that news because of the prophecy. But let's get into some riddles of theology. We do pray for all of our servicemen, our country, our leaders, and that our Father will lift them up, and that we will do His will and glorify Him during this time. It is a holy war. It is a spiritual war. There's nothing else you can say about it. And so once that gets in your mind, you know the game you're playing. You know who's in the brackets, whether it's the aliens or whether it's the synagogue of Satan or whether it's the United Nations or whether it's conservative Republicans or whether it's the Democrats. They're a war machine, and that free everybody and let everybody come in your country. And there you go with all of Europe, and now they're deploying nuclear weapons throughout their countries. So it's just setting up. We'll find out what happens, but let's get our mind on some other things tonight. Not that I just think they're kind of fun topics to try to just drill home the points that I've made, since I don't think we need to talk about war 24/7. To be honest with you. We need to be talking about some positive, good things a lot of the times, because after all, what can we do right now other than pray? Remember, worry and fear, they don't come from God. So that comes from the world. And and your experiences in the world and your childhood trauma in the world and what your environment is now. So what your emotions are now. So let's get into the riddles of theology. What has four wheels and flies? What has four wheels and flies? With today's technology, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of things do. What has four wheels and flies? Correct answer would be a garbage truck. Oh, garbage truck. I like that one. All right, second riddle of theology. What has a heart but it does not beat? What does a heart but it does not beat? What has a heart but it does not beat? The correct answer, artichoke. A artichoke has a heart but it does not beat. Last riddle of theology. I am a word of three letters. Add two, and fewer there will be. What word am I? I am a word of three letters. Add two, and fewer there will be. What word am I? The key word in that phrase is fewer. I am a word of three letters. Add two, and fewer there will be. What word am I? The correct answer is the word few. F-E-W has three letters. You add two, that's fewer there will be. Thank you guys for tuning in to Night Night with Phee. Well, we've gone over several times about what I think of your ex-president, globalist Barack Obama, and what he's done. He said he would change the culture in America, and he did. And he's done a great thing for gay marriage, and he's done a great thing for a lot of wonderful programs. See that he really wanted to change America at, and he did with Planned Parenthood and with the same agenda that the United Nations has. That's the same agenda that he has, and so he's going to go down as the worst president in the history of the United States, as I've said in the past, because of all the billions of dollars that he gave to Iran on purpose to fund these Houthis, Hezbollah, and what nobody talks about is the most dangerous of all of them. So when you're dealing with all over the countries, just like you've got certain organizations in the United States, they have over there also, and some of them they're kind of that area is CIA. That's what they do. So they're intelligence communities, and they're the ones that have been embedded in your country. And when they want to, they'll disrupt and have some chaos and some death. But right now, it's all over there and in the Middle East. So Barack Obama, if he just wouldn't have messed with President Trump, remember, President Trump was a Democrat, and he was a businessman. And so now your president is, at the time, Barack Obama. So let's take a look and watch this Newsmax clip. Very good.
Make America Great Again might never have happened. If Democrats were smarter, all of this was totally avoidable, and I don't think they realize it. Democrats hate Donald Trump more than any Republican in history, including Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slaves. Boy, were they mad about that. Democrats were so mad that Lincoln freed the slaves that they went to war with America and they lost. Think about that. But what doesn't get the attention that it probably should is the Donald Trump origin story, and there is one. At one point, Donald Trump was a Democrat, just like Ronald Reagan. And sure, Donald Trump had considered getting into politics for years, and people like Roger Stone were pushing him in that direction for decades. But when Donald Trump finally made up his mind, it wasn't Roger Stone or anyone else who did it. It was two Democrats, and one was the sitting president of the United States at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in April of 2011, when Barack Obama said this.
Donald Trump is here tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, But no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell? And where are Biggie and Tupac? All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
And that went on and on and on. Barack Obama started all of this. And if he just kept his mouth shut and just made a joke about the Donald, maybe we never have MAGA. Maybe. But I'm serious. When you look back at Donald Trump's face in that video, take a look. His expression, sitting next to Melania and Rick Scott there, craning his neck back to see how Donald Trump's reacting. When you look at him in that video, that is the moment where he made up his mind to run for president. And when you look at it now, you can see it. Beneath that calm, placid exterior, rage inside. You can see him deciding right then and there that he was going to run for president. And of course, there was an election the following year in 2012, and Republicans nominated this guy, which again shows you just how far we've come in 13 short years.
I have just called President Obama to congratulate him on his victory. His supporters and his campaign also deserve congratulations. I wish all of them well, but particularly the President, the First Lady, and their daughters. This is a time of great challenges for America, and I pray that the President will be successful in guiding our nation.
I mean, just no fight in Mitt Romney. The other player in all of this was the Democrat host of the Correspondents' Dinner that very night. The perfectly average Seth Meyers. People always say he seems like such a nice guy, which when somebody says that about you, when they call you a nice guy, they really mean you're just a total bore. Seth is like the most vanilla late night host in late night history. And for whatever reason, Seth decided to target Donald Trump that night too. Don't forget, at the time, we'd just come out of the birther scandal, where people all around the country, the same people who would ultimately become the MAGA base, led by Donald Trump, were demanding to see Barack Obama's long-form birth certificate to prove that he wasn't born in Kenya or somewhere else. He wasn't. He was born in Hawaii. At least we think he was. But just before the Correspondents' Dinner that year, Obama did release his birth certificate, and the debate was suddenly over.
I was just informed while on the helicopter that our president has finally released a birth certificate. I'd want to look at it, but I hope it's true. We have to look at it. We have to see, is it real? Is it proper? What's on it? But I hope it checks out beautifully. I am really proud. I am really honored. We can get on to issues, and hopefully when I sit down with interviews, people don't start talking about birth certificate, like they've been doing. So I feel I've accomplished something really, really important.
Remember, at that time, he was just host of The Apprentice, the Celebrity Apprentice. But that night at the dinner, maybe more than any other night in Donald Trump's life, Donald Trump was walking into a room filled with people at that time who didn't quite realize how much they would end up hating him in the end. Take a look.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke. If you're at the Washington Post table with Trump and you can't finish your entree, don't worry, the fox will eat it. Gary Busey said recently that Donald Trump would make a great president. Of course, he said the same thing about an old rusty birdcage he found. Donald Trump owns the Miss USA pageant, which is great for Republicans because it will streamline their search for a vice president. I like that Trump is filthy rich, but nobody told his accent. His whole life is models and gold leaf and marble columns, but he still sounds like a know-it-all down at the OTB.
I'm telling you, he decided right then and there that after Mitt Romney would inevitably lose in 2012, he was going to run.
I just, you just sometimes the things that happen in the world that run up to these things years later. See, that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a successful man during that time that was being inside. What was going through his mind? Not his outside, not with him looking very stoic. What was running in through his mind during that time? Had people talked to him like that to his face where he couldn't respond in a public setting? See, have we talked about different settings and events, formal and informal? You know, one person's on the stage and the other person's at a table with the audience. Tough to get into a debate there. It's kind of an unfair fight, isn't it? Used to say that about typewriters. You know, writers always had the last word. So you see there that sometimes revenge, sometimes no matter what the motive is, my God and my Lord will use whatever. And I have a feeling looking at him and seeing at that time in his life, not now, but he was a TV show host and had been bankrupt some and had some big hits and some big failures. But overall, over a period of years, he amassed a lot of wealth. And so he was always good in front of the camera. So at that time, he wasn't used to being talked to like that or to be able to not defend himself. And so that was what was going through his mind as he was thinking about running for president, because you can see that the guy they put up there in 2012, he had the personality of what we would say a knot on a log. So as we move forward in the show, we want to talk about the real Bill Gates, one of my favorite folks, again, with Planned Parenthood and the United Nations. And you're going to have to add the old Bill Gates with the Epstein folks and all the global elites that serve a god of Molech that's for child sacrifices. I don't understand it. Never would have believed it, and it's just factual. So they'll tell you later, sooner or later. Anyway, let's find out about the real Bill Gates. This is fantastic.
Would you raise your hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the matter now pending shall be the truth?
A shocking new report from the New York Times sheds light on the connection between Microsoft founder Bill Gates and the late Jeffrey Epstein. You report these two men met at least 6 times.
Well, I believe there were more. This included visits to the mansion, seeing each other in Seattle, flying on Epstein's plane.
When flight logs revealed that Gates had been a passenger on the Lolita Express, he claimed that he didn't know that the private jet belonged to Epstein. He also denied that he and Mr. Epstein were involved in any business deals. However, an expose by the New York Times revealed that not only did Bill Gates initiate a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein well after he was convicted of sex crimes, but the two were also involved in the process of co-founding a multi-billion-dollar charitable fund.
Why would they ever set up a charitable trust benefiting Jeffrey Epstein?
That it was all about philanthropy, that Bill Gates just wanted to find new sources of money.
Why would one of the richest men in the world choose to partner with the world's most notorious pedophile? A deeper dive into Epstein's world revealed that the two men had more in common than meets the eye. Like Gates, Epstein was a billionaire philanthropist with a passion for science, health, education, and children. The Jeffrey Epstein Foundation donated millions of dollars to top universities, science institutes, medical schools, early education programs, youth initiatives, and international peace accords. Bill Gates is either the most misunderstood man alive or one of the most convincing con men to ever live. Is he a benevolent hero or a malevolent opportunist?
Bill Gates.
Personally, I would love to believe that one of the richest men in the world is giving away his fortune for the betterment of humanity. I want to believe that endearing smile. I want to believe that his heart is as soft and warm as his sweaters. At the very least, I want to believe that he's unaware of the damage he's done.
Breaks my heart every time I think about it. Absolutely. Fire burns in my belly when I think about, under the guise of giving away billions of dollars to help African children with vaccinations, and just did a trial run on him. Got him on tape sometimes saying that there was 100% death rate. Killed 64 out of 64. I tell you, I just don't, I try. I don't think I'm doing that much better when it comes to that type of love everybody and love thy neighbor and forgive everybody. That's just, I'm not there yet. As far as I don't have any resentment in my heart toward my life. But boy, I tell you, it's difficult not to be very unhappy at what I know what they're doing to little innocent children and babies and doing things like that. Well, you can't see it, just like today. Lots of people lost their lives today, but didn't affect ours. And so I think it's time to prepare at that time. But Bill Gates, I'm gonna hammer him as long as I have to. There's got to be something done for somebody to hurt that many children and on purpose. You just don't put aluminum in vaccines. That's a neurotoxin. That's not an oversight. That's a 101. Something that you would probably learn in ninth grade chemistry. See? So there's where we are on that. Let's talk about some bad takes in psychology. You think you can read people sometimes, and what you don't know is you don't know how people's environment or how people live in their environment, what their childhood trauma they've had, what they've seen, and what recent things that have changed their life and shaped their life. Whether it's finding out a secret that was from childhood. I don't know how many folks find out that they were really adopted at 32. It's just sometimes the more you try to hide something, or somebody was married before before for 2 years and then they divorced and 3 years married their mom and had 4 kids. They never know that daddy was remarried or married again. So there's your normal courses of what goes on. But then you get to the extreme fringes out there when it comes to psychology. And sometimes you would make bad reads. So I want to caution you on judging people by the way their appearance is or by their facial expressions. You need to kind of read their whole body language, and you need to always, if it's going to be anything other than sweet and kind and uplifting, you need to pause and think about it and what situation they might be in. I know of one story I heard of a young man at a seminar where there was a man on the subway, and he had 4 kids with him, and he had his head dropped over, and he was holding one of his babies, and the other 2 kids were running all through the cab of the subway, and he was just sitting there with the child, and then the child came up and started hitting the seat right beside the lady, and then he fell off on the floor, and he was rolling around. They were causing problems, and the man never moved. He was just looking down. And the guy said, "Hey, these are your kids. You need to take care of them." And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he gathered his kids up, and he said, "I do apologize. We just left their mother's funeral, and I kind of guess I just dozed off. I apologize to you." Well, so you don't know what his life's going through during that time. So it's always better to pause and have caution during those situations, because after all, if they're children rolling in the floor, that's not normal, is it? You hope not, anyway. But here's one: a person who cries over the smallest things has lightly endured the greatest hardship. See, once you get used to a certain emotion, that's the go-to emotion. And once you've seen so much pain, you've cried so much, almost anything will make you cry, because that's the situation. Your body has adjusted to that emotion. And so some people, if they're crying, they're lying. They only cry when they're trying to get out of something, and they know that it's an emotion that attacks you because you're trying to, if you care about people, you're trying to make sure they're okay if they're crying. So sometimes a legitimate person that really cries hard a lot, often. I mean, some people want a good cry a day. So I'm not talking about a happy or a good cry a day. I mean, you ought to be moved to those emotions, and each person's circumstances will be determined based on whether they want to cry every day or not. But normally, if you get in a habit of crying and that emotion comes to the surface, it's tough to get away from that. So almost any situation makes you cry. To where some folks, some dudes at a movie, they can't cry in public and they're sobbing over it. And the more they can't, they try not to cry. The more they do cry, and before it's over, that's one of the funniest stories that you'll hear when he's 45 years old. Yeah, he cried at, when Sarah met Hallie when he was 15. This won't be a big deal at all. But at the time, there was an emotional tug there. Those emotions. That's why you have entertainment. If it makes you feel, you want to feel adventurous, or you want to feel not bored. You want to feel all kinds of thrillers, romance, connections, comedy. You see it. That's why you watch a good movie. I watched a lot of them. Was in that business when I was 21. So I don't watch them a lot now, but I certainly have watched way too many. I wish I would have read the Word of God as many hours as I watched movies and sports. I think I'd have memorized probably the Torah, the Quran, and the Bible if I would have done that. And there's people out there that have, and I admire those folks. I admire their diligence. That's folks that go to work every day and do the same thing. And I tell you, I'm impressed with them. But a person who cries over the smallest things has likely endured the greatest hardships. The middle son often resembles his father in behavior. They will always talk about the middle child syndrome. That's why I have 4 children, and I happen to have 2 boys and 2 girls. So I never, I was very aware of childhood behavior when I was younger with psychology. I always knew I wasn't going to have a middle son. I expected to have 4 boys. That's why I prayed for 4 children. I thought I would have a basketball team, me and 4 boys. But I'm so thankful my first 2 were boys and my last 2 were girls. And you couldn't ask for better. I got 2 of each, and they're 2 of the best, and both females and males. So happy for that. But I don't have a middle son or a middle daughter. But I've heard that all my life. Even in My 3 Sons, they tried to depict the old TV show as the middle son being most like the father. So that psychology runs deep. I have an oldest son and a youngest son. I have an oldest daughter and a youngest daughter. So that's the way I do it. I had a father-in-law, which was one of the greatest men in the world, was a 3-time national champion judo, was just unbelievable, hosted judo tournaments, competed all over the country, from Nebraska and Notre Dame and LSU and Tennessee, Texas, and my ex-wife trained at, she was number 1 in the state, and then 7th in the South Central region of the United States, and then she was on the United States Junior Olympic judo team. So that ran deep in her and that family. And he was a phenomenal man in every way, but he believed in dedication. He wanted one day's work for fair work, fair pay. That's all he wanted. There wasn't any angles with him whatsoever. Was in the Navy and loved to demolish buildings while he could get the bricks. Unique, wonderful man. One of the best grandfathers you could possibly have, and certainly the best father-in-law you could ever have, that I could ever have. So I'm thankful for that. But he never called his 3 daughters. He never called them the oldest daughter, the youngest daughter, or the middle daughter. And he never called them by their names. He just called them daughter. No matter who he was talking to, he just called them daughter. So the middle son often resembles his father in behavior. I think they would say that a lot about the oldest girl. If they have 3 girls in a family, they'll always look at the oldest girl, and that will be the reflection of the mother. And more than 50% of the time, it's not ever going to be the law of large numbers in every sense. But again, bad reads. You don't want to always say, well, that's the middle child syndrome. See, he's labeled. We don't want to do that. These are bad reads. You always, think before you act. You hear something so much that you just automatically believe it's true. Like onions are bad for you, so kids don't eat onions. They give you bad breath. Okay, so they don't taste good. In reality, onions is one of the best properties for a child. If you get them outside in the sun, let them breathe some fresh air, and actually have some onions, and some blueberries and some honey, and feed them some meat and some eggs, get them some protein, some sourdough bread, and some fresh vegetables, I bet they could eat all day, every day. But never judge a book by its color. As Snowbird used to say, there's more to a person than just a pretty wrapper. So again, not always does the middle son resemble, but that's what the psychology takes are. A person who talks a lot typically has a pure heart. I have known in abnormal psychology, they will definitely say that someone who acts like a clown will be hurt the most and have the purest heart, but in most cases have seen the worst situations, the worst childhood drama also. So that can go both ways. But a person who talks a lot typically has a pure heart. A person who avoids conflicts is often the one who values peace the most. Again, like my father used to say, you don't go snake hunting or frog hunting in a snake pit, and you don't argue with idiots. There's no reason to do that. So you just have to kind of nod your head and move on, and you just get out of that situation, that environment, because you don't want to be. You'd rather have the peace than the conflict. Good choice, bad choice. A person who forgives easily has likely faced the most pain. Again, bad reads. Not so sure that I would agree with that at all. Sometimes a person who forgives easily is the person who hasn't had a lot of people ask him for forgiveness, and that's a new trigger. Somebody walked up to you and said, "Hey, man, I want to ask you for your forgiveness," and it's the first time that you've heard that. It might register different, especially with the right body language and tone. I mean, I just want to tell you I'm sorry. If no one's ever been told they're sorry before, and if he gets told he's sorry 16 times, I mean, you got way, way too many people out there on a daily part of their verbiage that anything that happens in the room, if it's not their fault, they're sorry for it. I'm sorry. Man, I'm sorry. Man, I'm sorry. It's just, it devalues you over and over and over and over. You're sorry. You're not making the right decision. You're indecisive. You don't have a lot of confidence. Now, they'll say that, there he goes again. He's being arrogant. He's a narcissist. No, I understand forgiveness. And I understand when there's a time to ask for it, and I understand that you need to accept it. But I'm talking to you about people who haven't heard that before, the 13, 14, 15-year-olds out there that, how many times does mommy say, "I'm sorry"? You tell daddy you're sorry. And that's part of their grooming. It's part of their verbiage growing up, is they're sorry. We need to lift them up. We need to instill confidence in them. 1 through 5, they can do anything. They can do anything. Loving and nurturing. And you won't have to discipline much. Just stern and loving and being able to communicate with them. I don't think you should whip babies because they cry. Again, tough to communicate. They might be having a different reason for crying on a different night. See? So always go to the loving. Well, I've been up with this baby 3 hours. I'm just tired of it. I'm sure you are. But that's what they call motherhood. And if you think that working hard, 2 jobs, and coming home with only 8 hours and only sleeping 4, and every day, and you got 4, and 2 of those you're picking up or taking to, it just makes it rough day after day after day to keep a good attitude. So you have those type of people, and you say, "That's terrible." You say, "Well, yeah, but that's not that bad." What do you mean it's not that bad? Well, what about the woman who's got the child that's dying in the hospital for the next 9 months? While there's the other 3 children are at home or at school, which then burdens the father that has the job. And in a 2-income house, they end up either paying people or they've got family members to help. That's what happens. So you don't need to judge at the surface level. And some of these are just bad takes. I agree with them about half the time, and I don't agree with them about half the time. But those who laugh the loudest often hide the deepest wounds. So there you go with back to the people who laugh the loudest often hide the deepest wounds. I've read it all my life. I've done a whole lot of reading when it comes to the mind and abnormal psychology and what makes the mind go round. And they will just almost always talk about comedians. They'll almost always tell you that comedians are very, very good from a theatrical and a verbiage, but that their mind off stage is significantly, their attitudes, their demeanor is significantly different than on stage because of that trauma they've had. And sometimes they compensate by making fun and different stories about maybe what happened with them in a fun way to get people to laugh. And so you don't know when they're deflecting. You just don't have any idea what about people. So I don't want you to have bad takes on psychology. I don't want you to be making a snap decision all the time, if that makes sense to you. A person who gets angry frequently is often weak and most of the time a liar. Well, they say again that the person who raises his voice first normally loses the argument, and that's not always the case. Normally, if you have a debate, the person who loses the argument is the one who's on the wrong side. So you have to learn how to argue both sides in order to be a good debater. Why do you think I watch TV shows and turn them on and listen to them more than I do what I might agree with? See, where most folks would work on their strengths and never see these, I want to hear these more than these because I basically understand this one here. This one's got several different narratives to go from. And then they got several different news outlets in that string of globalism. So there's your news outlets. Those are your platforms. There's where you get your information, entertainment. And right here on these 5 platforms, we're going to try to use them as long as we can. And then we'll be trying to drive folks to feesmee.com. And feesmee.com should be a name that people remember. Should be a name that you wouldn't remember, or you'd have to go through several things. I've got some really bad name shows. I will start naming my other shows good, but I have to stand out. Phee Smee is pretty bad, but you ought to be able to get it. Phee Smee. You ought to be able to spell it. Phee Smee. Phee, like fat, Phat. Same deal. Phee Smee, SMEE.com. Once we get that up with our own servers, then it won't matter whether we're censored or half other stuff comes up or it doesn't come up because I said one word or didn't, or I'm banned in one country or I'm not. Again, free speech is for me right now is very important, and we're going to try to utilize all the radios and different frequencies all the way down from shorthand radios to walkie-talkies to CBs, and we'll do whatever we need to do to satellite phones and uplinks. We'll just try to use them all and see what works in the end, because in some areas, fiber might be the only thing that would ever work. In some areas, nothing but wireless would ever work. So we'll just have to see how those areas go. But those are some bad takes in psychology that I would always, before I really believe that, a person who gets angry frequently is often weak and most of the time a liar. You will see that, from the general public, that is the quickest mechanism. If you're guilty, you're mad. If you're guilty, you're mad. And then you start lying about it. See, that's just a common phrase that everybody does it. But a good liar would not be putting himself in a situation that was that obvious, if that makes sense to you. The ones who are this obvious that they get angry because they're weak, and they're the ones that are, beating their wives in the front yard. They're the ones that are grabbing their hair walking down the sidewalk. That's not going to work out for them. You don't normally do that unless you got bad intentions for her or you don't know how to act, one of the two. So I don't think anybody should ever put up with that. And if somebody saw that, I certainly would think that you would, step in there and at least try to get some help. If you're an old lady, I'm not trying to tell you to beat the man over the head with the cane. For entertainment and information purposes only. Got to get that pharmaceutical disclaimer in. Got to get that in. Phee Smee, all Phee Smees on the network, all Phee Smee shows are for entertainment and information purposes only. What privacy? Wow, what privacy are we talking about? Well, Phee has printed he's painted a picture for you in the last 9 months with the science and the math and the wireless communications and the 5G, showing you that you can't see it, but you're in it all around you, and it's cooking you slowly. You've got frequencies and toxins all around you. We're aware. You remember that. So from a coaching standpoint, let's focus and get into this right now, because Phee's also told you that you have no privacy, that this is a two-way communicator that hears everything you say, that everything in your house, you can hear pictures, video.
This may be the worst and scariest spying I have ever seen, in your car of all places. Because we sort of expect it from our phones, our computers that have cameras on it. We've come to expect it from apps, maybe our TVs. This is your car, where you're having private conversations, you're doing things, you're talking to people, you're having people in your car, and there are microphones, and there are cameras, and the level of spying from these car makers that is just kind of coming to light is frankly shocking. There's no other word for it. And we have been investigating, and we are going to tell you everything you need to know about what they're doing, what they're collecting, where that data is going. And by the way, where that data is going, part of it is to your insurance company. We're going to get to that in a few minutes. And we have a world-class hacker and cybersecurity expert who's going to be joining us in a moment to talk about that and a lot of other things too. And most importantly, we're going to teach you by the end of this video how to protect yourself. The first thing I want to show you is exactly what they're doing.
The Mozilla Foundation, makers of the Firefox browser, call cars a privacy nightmare. They say they're the least secure devices you can buy. Every one of the 25 brands the group reviewed got a privacy not included rating, making the category as a whole the worst the group has ever evaluated. Nissan's privacy policy is probably the most mind-boggling, creepy, scary, sad, messed up privacy policy we have ever read, the group said in 2023. And we here at Privacy Not Included read a lot of privacy policies.
True.
And yet overall, Nissan still fared better than Tesla. Making money off information about you, aka data monetization, has been hyped as a big business, albeit with mixed results. A car collects two types of data: technical and personal. Technical data is information about the car itself: battery, engine health, brakes, and so on. Personal is about the driver or passengers in the car. Nearly anything you do in a car can be tracked, and it can store fingerprints and images of your facial features, medical information for emergency assistance services, financial information for purchases, passwords, your home address, and of course the codes to your garage door. Cars can record tons of information about exactly where, when, and how you drive, and where and when you park.
So creepy.
It's of great interest to all sorts of parties, including insurance companies.
That they could collect your biometric information, your genetic information, information about your sex life, your sexual activity, your union status, your immigration status, things like that are kind of very sensitive information. And again, who knows if they're collecting it? All we know is that they require you to consent to a privacy policy that says that they can. And the question then becomes, well, how does them, requiring me to consent to them collecting information about my sex life get me from point A to point B safely, which is what the car is supposed to do.
That data is funneled into any one of 60 or so onboard computers. Cars also commonly have 4G or 5G modems. This, of course, allows anyone in the car to use the internet for work, navigation, or say if the kids in the back seat want to watch a movie on a road trip. But as you drive through the world, it's also broadcasting a Wi-Fi network and the car's serial number. Rear-facing cameras are required by law. Front-facing cameras are common, and a growing number of vehicles have cameras all around them, such as on mirrors for lane-keeping assist features. Even some inside, pointed at the driver, such as those used for the driver assistance system.
Do you want the OEM constantly collecting a photo of you or your passengers inside the car? And some of these are camera-based, some of these are infrared eye, monitoring systems. It kind of varies across the OEM and model of what they decided to use.
Yeah, do I want a camera pointed on me that they're sending back to who knows who? Absolutely not. Let's bring in our cybersecurity expert and world-class hacker, Jim Stickley. And so you've watched all of this, and you always forget there are cameras and microphones in that car.
Your car is the one place where you truly feel like you are in this private moment, where you collect your thoughts. Sometimes you talk out loud. Sometimes you're in a good mood, a bad mood. Sometimes you're arguing, through the speakerphone with your wife. Like, there's a lot happening in that car that you don't think anybody else could have any access to in any way. And then you start watching these things and you go, ooh, wow.
Yeah, and these computers can track this, right? I mean, that's highly possible.
Anything's possible now because they're talking about how much data they can gather that they've already acknowledged they're gathering. And then there's these other things where they go, well, like, for example, they say, oh, there's a camera in the car, but we're not going to take the pictures and upload them anywhere. Right? Like, if there's any photos or anything like that, we're not going to send that out of the car. And you go, okay, well, that's today as of right now. But as you've seen, policies change. How many times have you received like an email that says, we've updated our policies? And it's just, okay, you don't have a choice. It just changes. So,
it's 50 pages long, and they're basically telling us that they can track us, right? It's insane. And by the way, this is now costing us real money. This can cost you thousands of dollars because your insurance rates are going to go up. These car companies, according to their own policies, are sharing this information with data brokers and insurance companies. Jim, I want you to watch this. You roll that clip too.
It's my LexisNexis Consumer Disclosure Report. I'm appalled.
Hundreds of pages of data on Tamika Clay's LexisNexis credit report from her Chevy Camaro.
Connecting to OnStar.
She's learned the OnStar system is tracking things like acceleration events, high-speed events, and hard brake events. And GM shared 603 of those entries with data brokers.
OnStar app, you're thinking safety and if it gets stolen, but certainly not spying on me and sending information to the insurance companies.
It's the exact same scenario described in this proposed class action lawsuit filed just one day after Clay received her LexisNexis report this month. Clay requested the report because her insurance had gone up 80%. And when she tried to shop around, an insurance broker sent a denial letter and suggested she check her LexisNexis records to see why.
All this means I'm a bad insurance risk and hike my premiums.
Yeah, and this is how your rates go up without an explanation. So I wanted to actually walk people through this because you want to get that LexisNexis report on yourself. Tamika got it. She ordered it. It is 100% free. They don't tell you and they don't advertise that you can do this, but I want all of you at home right now to order your LexisNexis report. And I'm going to give you Jim, I want you to do it too. I'm going to give you a quick step-by-step. Go to Google and type in LexisNexis free report. You click on that top thing right there, order your report online. It'll bring you to this next screen. It's going to say consumer portal. It's the online request form. Scroll down from that and it's going to ask you for your name and your address. And then you scroll down from that a little bit. And this is where some people may get a little wonky. I mean, LexisNexis is a legitimate company, but they do ask for your social security number and your driver's license number. You hit right at the bottom, request your consumer disclosure report. And within 10 days, they will send it to you right in the mail and it's free. And we should all do that because you should know what the insurance companies have,
Yeah, and one thing to note here, there's going to be people who are being like, oh, I'm not going to give them my social security number. I'm not going to give them they have it. They already have your social security. They already have your driver's license number. You're kidding yourself if you think you're protecting yourself by not sharing it with LexisNexis.
God forbid you're in an accident. Wait until you see what happened to this one guy. He was driving it was like a 1-year-old Toyota, pretty new car. It catches fire on the road. And Toyota's like, not our problem. Why? Because they were spying on him. They went into his data and found that he had gone over the speed limit or something at a time, not even at the accident time, like some other point in time. And they're like, we're not going to pay. This is unbelievable. This is going to make you angry. Clip 3.
Ryan was driving his 2023 Toyota Corolla GR on the highway
He then noticed that something was wrong. Smoke started pouring into the interior. Brian pulled over to take a look and see what was going on. And before he knew it, the front end of the car was completely in flames. Some of the damage was covered by insurance, but the remaining cost was to be covered in a warranty claim by Toyota. After all, the car was only 1 year old and just caught fire for no apparent reason. But to his horror, Toyota denies his claim. Why? According to their reply, his car had sent data packets to headquarters indicating that he'd driven in excess of 85 miles per hour at some point during his ownership. Among other excuses, they concluded that they couldn't provide any assistance due to his irresponsible driving. This was despite the fire having nothing to do with how fast he'd driven the car at a completely separate time.
They are gathering every piece of information about you at every moment you're driving so they can use it against you later. But now imagine, so that's all bad enough, right?
That's all bad enough, see? But they can do anything they want, anytime they want with the technology that they have. And they use that technology for bad. And all those agreements we've talked about several times, you just agree and they update your phone. You have to agree, privacy agreement, agree. That's what gets you in trouble right there, is you're agreeing to things that for about intellectual property and for data transfers and all kinds of things that you're not reading when you're studying it. And if you did read it, you wouldn't understand, or they would explain it to you as this is to help you in case of an accident or any type of situation. You know, it's just an updated, 0.2 of your OnStar, which again is another new feature that allows folks that, and for the how long has OnStar been such a new feature? And what is it, 15 years old now? Well, that was the year it came out. You have OnStar, and then they buy any car, you'd have OnStar for a year. To get you on that OnStar. And at OnStar, it gives them access to anything and everything. And just like your garage door opener would to your home. So that's how that goes. Just another way for me to teach you that Mr. Barack Obama wasn't very bright that night. And just to let you know that sometimes that people that are supposed to be experts give you some bad takes on psychology. But now we're going to talk about be not afraid. Because we're in a time now that you're seeing and are going to continue to see, and they're going to desynthesize you with all these phones and all these reels for war. And you're going to see it there, and then when it comes over here, it'll be like those riots in the street. Remember in Minnesota they showed you? Or those drones that were flying in the Northeast. Nobody knew what they did, and they didn't do anything wrong, so everybody forgot about them. You know, those type of things to just show you. You know, like COVID, they wanted to see if you'd go out and buy the mask. You do realize that they got you on everywhere. I was at my brother's funeral, they were talking about COVID, and I told them just find out who had hand sanitizers and masks in the futures market, and there's the folks in the money. Do you know, folks, if you make $100,000 a year for 50 years, 100,000 a year for 50 years, that's $5 million. And do you know that there are people in the world on Friday, from Friday to Monday, made $50 million on that weekend while they weren't working? There's the different classes that we're playing in. So we've got to have a plan. We've got to understand where we are compared to them, because that's an easy play on a Friday to get to that Monday. They understand different markets around the world, whether it's Hong Kong or London. They understand how that perception and shift will be. Just like your oil price is already up over 12%. And they bought the oil that you're using right now a long time ago. It's been in those white tankers around your country are being taken by rail. But they're not just out. They actually go back and load those trucks, those huge trucks, 18-wheelers up with what they've got, and they take them to the pumps. So when they can't get back and forth, the pump goes dry. That's a bad situation, isn't it? If you don't have any money to pay for the gas, that's a bad situation. And if their cash register that's all electronic won't accept debit or credit cards, that's a bad situation. But be not afraid, because my Lord's got a plan. And you're preparing by being aware of it while we can do something about it. So if you want to look at Joshua, Old Testament, 1 verse 9, have not I commanded thee, be strong and of a good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. When it looks the bleakest, he hadn't left you. Your friends, your family, a lot of folks might leave you. My Lord Jesus is not going to leave you. His sheep hear his voice. Cry out to him, call on his name. And you'll have the greatest relationship. You'll have as much as you want. As much as you want to put in, as much work as I have these students do with the repetition, the more you do it, the better you get. I will promise you, his love will never run out. The more you give him, the more he's going to love you. And the more he's going to prune you and test you and expect more from you. For much is given, much is expected. But he's telling you he's never going to leave you. Be of good courage. He's on your side, and he's the King of kings and the Lord of lords. He's Yahweh, the God of the universe, the God of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac. My Lord Jesus is the King of the Jews. He's coming again, and it won't be long. As the sixth trumpet is sounded, it won't be long. Remember that quickening up of time? It's not about the number of days. It's about how fast it goes by. Blood moon tonight. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid. Have not I commanded thee, be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed. For thy Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. Joshua 1:9. And Judges 7. I love Judges 7. I love the story of the war tactics by my Lord. As he goes in, and it's a great story that it's long, but it's about Gideon. And Gideon's got lots and lots of problems. And these Midianites have been crushing him, and they're about 2-1 on him, see. His men are tired, and they're nervous and worried. My Lord says, well, you got 10,000 now. They'd say that our warriors were just better than theirs, so let's send some of them home. So he sends some of them home, and then all of a sudden my Lord says, well, I'll tell you what you do. If you send them down there, and if they jump around and flop around in the water, and they act like dogs, and then paddling and acting a fool, we're at war. He says, oh, then send them home too. They end up with 300 of them. 300. And so my Lord devises this plan. See, what you're going to do is you're going to have a jar, and then you're going to have a bugle, and then you're going to have a lantern inside. And you're going to go and you're going to surround them. And at my cue, we're all going to blow those horns, and or trumpets, and we're going to rattle that lantern with those lights in that glass, as they understand what glass and light does from a physics standpoint. Isn't that wonderful? And they surrendered. 300 of them surrounded them and took them over without them ever fighting. That's the power of my Lord Jesus Christ. So in Judges 7, the key verse, because I'll read just a hair of it. He said, the people are yet too many. Bring them down into the water, and I will try them for thee there. And it shall be that of whom I say unto thee, this shall go with thee, and same shall go with thee. And whomever I say unto thee, this shall not go with thee, the same shall not go. So he brought down the people unto the water. And the Lord said unto Gideon, every one that lappeth of the water with his tongue, as a dog lappeth, him shalt thou set by himself. Likewise, every one that boweth down upon his knees to drink, and then the number of that lapped, putting their hand to their mouths, were 300 men, and all the rest of the men bowed down upon their knees to drink water. And the Lord said unto Gideon, By the 300 men that lapped will I save you, and deliver the Midianites unto thine hand. There he went. And so now he's fixing to tell them how to do it. So the people took their victuals in their hand and their trumpets, and he sent all the rest of Israel, every man unto his tent, and retained those 300 men. And the host of the Midian were beneath him in the valley. And it came to pass the same night that the Lord said unto him, Arise, get thee down unto the host, for I have delivered it unto thine hand. But if thou fear to go down, go thou with Purah, thy servant, down to the host, and thou shalt hear what they say. And afterward thine hands be strengthened to go down into the host. And they go down to the host, all the way down, and they're like grasshoppers. And it says that the Midianites and the Amalekites and all the children of the east lay along the valley like grasshoppers for multitude, and their camels were without number, as the sand by the seaside for the multitude. And when Gideon was come, behold, there was a man that told a dream unto his fellow, and said, Behold, I dreamed a dream, and lo, a cake of barley bread tumbled into the host of Midian, and came into the tent, and smite it that it fell, and overturned it, and the tent laid along. Now, that is a picture of the crumbs of the bread, the limited numbers. These folks had camels they couldn't see how many there were. Thousands of men and only 300. That's the deception of war, the tactics of strategy. And my Lord is the King of kings and the Lord of lords, and he's the Lord of hosts. And he's coming again. And he's coming in this lifetime. And these prophecies will be fulfilled before he comes. But we've got to prepare today. I pray for these men and women that are in our service and our intelligence. I pray for our president and our country. And I ask the blessings upon the folks that are involved for a long, long, long period of time, folks. It's just going to, from a psychological standpoint, you just got to dig in and get ready, because it's not an easy world. It's a rough house world from here on out. I do appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll try to have some fun here on Night Night with Phee. And remember, no matter what you're doing, you're missing something. So let's make what we're doing worth what we're missing. And Night Night said to cricket, Night Night said to whale, Night Night crazy boy, Night Night crazy girl, only time will tell. Only time will tell, guys. God bless you. Night Night.
Life and love go hand in hand. Sip the stars, let the night unwind. Secrets to soothe your heart and mind. Night Night with Phee, where advice flows like the sea. Catch the rhythm, catch the glow. Let the big band steal the show. Night Night with Phee, it's where you're meant to be. From tangled hearts to life's wild maze, she'll charm your soul in subtle ways.